Hello folks, my name is Alex, game name Macus, and for this review we'll be looking at the sci-fi first-person shooter Titanfall, developed by Respawn Entertainment, published by Electronic Arts, and released around the 12th to 14th March depending on whereabouts you live. Titanfall can be best described as Halo fused with Call of Duty and topped off with some giant-ass mechs. This combination is as awesome as it sounds, and despite being extremely hyped up before its release, this game pretty much lives up to the hype, as it just does so much right. So why is everyone so impressed by this game? What is it even about? And what are its flaws? Let's get to reviewing, but first, let's roll some gameplay footage! Before you're thrown into the action, you're given a brief glimpse of the backstory to the game. It's sometime in the future when humanity has managed to colonize a distant set of dead planets using advanced technology. This in turn gives rise to a war between two main sides on the established colonies, the IMC and the militia, who constantly battle each other for areas of land, fuel tanks, weapons, and other various things. To be honest, I can't really explain the story much more than this, as it tends to be lost in the action that goes on throughout the game. And trust me when I say there is a lot of action that goes on throughout this game. If anything, these two sides are there to give reason for there being two teams of players versing each other, and to make the campaign a little more interesting. More on that later. After the backstory, you're placed into a tutorial that goes through the game basics, from standard functionality to new stuff, such as running along walls and, of course, learning to use your Titan. This tutorial does feel like it drags a bit, despite only being about 20 minutes long. But the option to skip is presented, and all the information covered in the tutorial is definitely good to know later on, as there isn't much time to learn once the battle begins. After this, you are able to either start off in the campaign, or simply participate in classic matches, including Capture the Flag, Attrition, which is basically Deathmatch, and about 4 others including Last Titan Standing, which is where all the players start in Titans, and must destroy all of the other team's Titans first. Personally, I started off with the campaign, having not much unlocked, and being more interested in how the developers had handled what is usually a primarily single-player or co-op game mode by instead opting for online versus. The bad news is it's hard to really call the game mode campaign, as you really are just being chucked into a massive level with basic objectives such as capture this base while killing other players. The good news though, is that it is still very enjoyable to play. The radio chatter and intro cutscenes do a good job of making you feel like you're a part of something bigger than just one dude in a standard deathmatch. At the very least, the campaign is just good fun, so it's hard to really penalise the game for not being extremely story orientated. At the completion of every match, you are rewarded with experience, which eventually allows you to unlock new gear and abilities for both your pilot and Titan upon leveling up. Things to be unlocked include new guns, new core abilities for your Titan, such as being able to use an electric smoke screen to damage nearby enemies and hide your escape/charge, as well as abilities for your pilot, such as active camouflage, which is fortunately the first ability available to all players. On top of this, players eventually unlock cards, which are essentially extra perks that can be activated for a one-time use in battle. Bonuses these cards provide include extra movement speed and experience gain. However, usually they only last for as long as you stay alive, and they must be activated by the player before they take effect. One of the best cards I've unlocked so far is one that allows you to stay in permanent camouflage, so long as you don't constantly shoot a stream of bullets. So why do people seem to like this game so much? Well, I think it ties in with what Titanfall has brought to the FPS genre that's new for the most part. Starting off with the parkour, which had been introduced through games such as Brink, Titanfall has created a movement system in this area that actually works. Players have the ability to double jump and run along walls while on foot, with the angle of which you look while running determining how you run along the wall. There is no fall damage, and running along a wall allows you to double jump again, which players can then use to access incredible heights or play for a minute without once touching the ground. There is nothing quite like it when you manage to pull this off perfectly and sneak behind an unaware player. Another debatably newish feature to Titanfall is the inclusion of AI into the online versus play. In every match that you fight in, there are always grunts running about fighting each other and shooting at you if you get too close. Killing these grunts helps to lower the time requirement on deploying your Titan, scores you points or experience, and is just generally satisfying. For the most part, they aren't very intelligent, but if you're anything like me, you may find yourself confusing them for another player at times, and they do a great job at making the maps feel alive. One of the other primary reasons people have to love this game is that the combat balance has been handled very well, at least in regards to pilots versus Titans. There is no doubt that Titans do have a power advantage over anyone on foot. However, pilots are equipped with anti-Titan weapons that can do a fair amount of damage on a distracted Titan. To top it off, pilots are also able to mount enemy Titans, pulling apart a back piece and shooting inside to bypass the shield and, if a rodeoed player ignores this for long enough, eventually doom the Titan altogether. Every player gets a Titan drop about every 5 minutes, with more kills or better performance reducing this cooldown time, which means no player is ever left out, but instead, simply rewarded with the option to deploy a Titan more quickly for performing well. Players can even choose to get out of their mech and put it on autopilot, allowing it to either follow the player or guard an area. Naturally, the disadvantage to this is that automatic Titans tend to be a bit less intelligent, or more often than not get themselves destroyed, but it's still a nifty bit of functionality. While you won't really get much time for admiring the scenery around you as bullets and rockets fly about in regular intervals, the game just looks damn pretty. I played this on a high-tier computer with all settings set to ultra, and at times I felt like drooling. Up close, everything looks great, but the level backdrops and overall design is what really captured my attention. Sometimes I just find myself staring at the sky or admiring areas off into the distance, before I realised that I was supposed to be doing something. If you are capable of running the game on high settings, you won't be disappointed. While the graphics aren't the main focus to the game, there is certainly enough eye candy to keep most gamers satisfied. The PC controls all handle quite well. Those who have played any first-person shooter game before will be right at home. Shift is to run, control is to crouch, space is to jump. The standard key format has been kept, while allowing players to change their hotkeys if they wish. Titans are also easy to handle, with spacebar being used instead to slide about the map quickly, while most other controls still being kept standard. As for the sound, your ears will be treated to a wide range of explosions, gunfire, soldiers yelling, and many more in glorious high quality. My personal favourite sound has to be the Titan dropping from the sky. There is nothing quite like it.
Stand by for Titanfall.
The music also does a good job at fitting in with the game's theme, although the bullets and rockets flying about are usually the main thing you'll be listening to. So what are the flaws to the game? Well, while it's debatable whether there really are any, some of the things that worry me include the leveling system, potential repetitiveness, and the lack of offline functionality. Most of these could just be personal grievances, although the first point, leveling, wasn't really a concern to me. I can just imagine other players coming into this game a week from now and being thrown off by all the level 50 players who have everything at their disposal. A flaw with any game that follows this leveling system, and that is really hard to suggest a solution for without ruining the leveling aspect of the game. While 8 hours in, I'm still very much enjoying this game, my other fear is that the style of play will become repetitive to many, as, like in Call of Duty, there isn't really that much variation to the gameplay. After a few matches, you've pretty much seen everything the game has to offer, although I have definitely played games such as Battlefield 4 and League of Legends where this strangely never becomes an issue. Finally, the lack of offline functionality always annoys me in games, as it means only people who have a decent and stable internet connection will be able to join in the fun. I know that by this point in time it's pretty standard for people to have access to the internet, but it still feels like a bit of a cop-out to what some might view as a deal breaker to the game. On a side note, Australian servers have been recently introduced, which does make Aussies, such as myself, much happier. So in summary, Titanfall does an awesome job at giving gamers something slightly different to enjoy in the FPS category of gaming. While the changes made to the general structure, such as the new movement system and mechs, aren't anything revolutionary, they do a surprisingly amazing job at mixing up the gameplay in a way that just makes this addictive. The sound quality is amazing, not surprising given the 50GB file size for the game. The controls are easy to use, the graphics when you actually get a chance to admire them are beautiful, and the combat has found a nice balance between those fighting on foot and those sliding about in giant mechs of destruction. It's still annoying how there is no offline functionality, and the approximate 3-hour campaign isn't really a campaign in the strictest sense. However, For as long as you do have a stable connection, it won't matter, as this game is just a whole lot of fun to play, and it takes a long time before the experience begins to feel repetitive. Strongly recommended for gamers who enjoy their online FPS games, and want something just that little bit different to waste another couple of months shooting away with friends or on their own. I give this game 9 out of 10. Thanks very much for watching, folks. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any feedback, please feel free to leave comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until the next video, happy gaming all.
You got it. Stand by for Titanfall.